My name is Nana May. I'm 74, and my daughter said something to me that I will never forget. It was one of those crisp mornings where the sun looks soft, almost forgiving. I had poured myself a cup of tea and sat by the window, the way I always do, watching the garden sway. Birds flitted about, and for a brief second, the world felt gentle. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated. Normally, I ignore unknown calls, but something told me I shouldn't. I answered. Nana. The voice was sharp, thin, angry. Lila. I asked cautiously. Yes, it's me, she snapped. I just wanted to say the best gift you could give anyone would be if you just died. I froze. The cup in my hand trembled. I could feel my heart thundering, not in fear, not in surprise, but in a strange, sinking disbelief. Excuse me, I managed to say. I said it clearly, she continued, her voice growing louder. Honestly, Mom, everyone would be better off if you just weren't here. The money, the constant control, the speeches, the advice, it's all suffocating. Just gone. I gripped the edge of the table. Tea sloshed but didn't fall. My mind raced. What had I done wrong? I had spent my life providing for this family, building security, creating opportunities, leaving nothing to chance. And this was the reward? I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. You don't need to, she snapped. I just needed you to hear it. The line went silent for a moment. I stared at the phone as if it could explain her cruelty. I'm hanging up now, she said finally. And she did. I sank into the chair. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not for her. I thought about all the birthdays, the holidays, the sacrifices I had made. I had funded education, businesses, weddings, even houses. I had carried this family like a mother bear. And this was the thanks I got? No. This required thought. Careful thought. Later that day, Lila showed up at my house. Bold. Angry. Certain she was right. I came to explain, she said as soon as I opened the door. I studied her. She looked much younger than her 42 years, sharp, taut with unspent anger. Explain what? I asked. You know what I said on the phone, she said. Yes, I remember. Her jaw tightened. I meant it. Every word. I nodded slowly, not out of agreement, not out of surrender, but to let her feel the weight of what she said. Sit. Let's talk, I said, stepping aside. She hesitated, then crossed her arms and sat. Do you have any idea how it feels, I began slowly, to build a life for someone, to try to give them a chance you never had, and to be told you are better off dead? Her voice broke. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said quietly. And it hurts. Not because of you, but because I failed to teach you empathy. Not control. Empathy. Her chest rose and fell. A small crack appeared in her armor. I could see it. The anger had roots. Fear, envy, disappointment. But the words she had said, they had already opened a wound. That evening, the family gathered for my birthday dinner. I thought perhaps the tension could ease with celebration. I was wrong. Happy birthday, Mom, she said sharply, as if she had forced herself to speak. I smiled. Thank you, dear. The room was quiet, awkward, eyes darting between her and me. I could feel the judgment in the air. My husband tried to diffuse the tension. Lila, maybe, he began. Don't, I said. Everyone stopped. The room stilled. Let's be honest, I said. We have words that need saying. Let's not pretend today is about cake and laughter when it's about truth. Lila froze. Her father paled slightly. My daughter's friends and my siblings exchanged nervous glances. You want honesty? I asked. I'll give it to you. I have funded every venture, every school, every business, every property. Every time. I trusted that you would respect it, not resent it. And what do I get? Her voice broke. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You wish I were dead. That's what you said on the phone. The best gift would be if I just disappeared. You've said it. You meant it. The room went silent. I could feel the humiliation settle around her shoulders. She opened her mouth, then closed it. You don't have to justify it, I said. I know who you are now, and I know what I must do. She looked at me, confusion, anger, fear mingling in her eyes. 2 days later, I canceled her funding. Not publicly, not dramatically, quietly, methodically. Emails were sent. Transfers stopped. Property agreements rescinded. I didn't gloat. I didn't make announcements. I just acted. When she called, screaming at me over the phone, I remained calm. "I'm done being treated like a doormat," she shouted. "I'm done being treated like I owe you my life," I said softly. You can't." "I just did," I replied, and I hung up. I felt a strange sense of relief. Later that night, I discovered a hidden email chain she had hoped I'd never see. Debts, secret loans, fraudulent claims, lies. The daughter who wanted me dead had been preparing her own financial disaster. I realized then something chilling. Her anger wasn't only about control. It was about greed, envy, and fear of accountability. And I held the power now. Quietly, invisibly. The next morning, I received a message. "Mom, this isn't over. You'll regret this." I smiled, because the real battle was just beginning. The morning of my birthday, the house felt heavier than usual. I had woken early, expecting gentle congratulations, perhaps a few flowers, maybe even a cake with candles I didn't need. Instead, the air was thick with resentment and unsaid words. I could hear Lila moving upstairs, her footsteps sharp and deliberate, not the soft rhythm of someone who comes to celebrate. My heart sank. I knew the storm hadn't passed. It had only been waiting. I sat at the breakfast table with my husband, trying to summon some small sense of normalcy. He looked at me nervously, shuffling the papers he always carried, the ones I had ignored for years because I trusted him to handle details. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "I'm fine," I said, but my voice betrayed me. It was too tight, too brittle. A sharp knock echoed from the front door. Lila had arrived. I opened the door. She stood there, arms crossed, her gaze sharp as knives. Behind her, her friends hovered uncertainly, clutching gifts I knew she wouldn't really appreciate. "Happy birthday, Mom," she said, her voice cold. Not warm, not celebratory. Cold. I nodded. "Thank you, dear. Come in." She stepped inside, the room shrinking with her presence. She didn't smile, didn't hesitate. She just glared. I poured her a cup of tea, though I knew she wouldn't drink it. She never did. She only needed a gesture to judge, to scrutinize. "I hope you're ready," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Today isn't going to be like last year." I sipped my own tea slowly. I've been ready for a long time. The family gathered. My husband tried to lighten the mood with small talk, but it felt forced, brittle. My other children looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. I watched them, and my heart ached, not for myself, but for the tension that had poisoned our home. Lila cleared her throat and leaned forward. "I want to be honest today," she said. "I can't stand pretending anymore." The room went silent. I could hear the clock ticking. I could feel every eye on us, waiting, expecting fireworks or tears. "Go on," I said calmly. "I can handle honesty." "You can," she said, her voice rising. "Really?" "Yes," I said. "I've handled worse." Her hands shook as she reached for the gifts on the table. She tore wrapping paper roughly, the sound grating in the quiet room. Inside were things I had carefully chosen for her. Books, heirlooms, items meant to honor her accomplishments. She tossed them aside like they were worthless. "They're just things," she said. "You think these things make up for years of control? Years of suffocation? No, they don't." My husband opened his mouth to intervene, but I shook my head. "Let her speak," I said. Lila's eyes burned with unshed tears, anger mingled with frustration. "I've told you 100 times, Mom. Your money, your rules, your expectations, they've killed me softly. Every day, I've felt trapped, judged, unable to breathe. And you think a birthday cake, a few gifts, will erase decades of resentment." I swallowed hard, feeling my own anger rise, but I held it back. "And you think wishing me dead is the answer?" I asked. Her face twisted. "It's the only answer you'd understand." I felt the room tilt. My other children gasped, My husband's face went pale. Lila had crossed the line. She had not only attacked me, but she had humiliated herself and the family in front of everyone. I leaned forward, my voice steady but cutting. You've made it clear. You wish me gone. Do you know what that means, Lila? It means that everything I've done for you, every sacrifice, every opportunity, every moment I've been there to protect you, you despise it. You despise me. Her eyes widened, a flash of something, regret? Shock passing through them. But she quickly masked it with anger. You don't understand anything, she shouted. You never have. You live in a bubble of your own making. I understand perfectly, I said. I see your anger. I see your resentment. And I see your greed. All of it. Her friends shifted uncomfortably. They hadn't expected the confrontation to escalate this quickly. One of them whispered something to another, but I didn't hear it. I was too focused on my daughter, the one who had once been innocent, the one who had grown into this cruel, entitled version of herself. Do you realize, I continued, my voice low and steady, that the words you've spoken today are not just disrespectful, they're dangerous? Dangerous to yourself, to the family, and to the very opportunities you've been given. She laughed, but it was hollow. Opportunities? You mean your money. That's all it ever was. You've bought people's love, their silence, their loyalty. And now, you think you're righteous because you've been generous? I could feel the anger bubbling beneath my skin. Generosity without accountability is useless, I said. And you've forgotten the meaning of respect. You've forgotten what it means to be a daughter. She stood up abruptly. I'm done with lectures. I'm done with your control. I rose slowly, meeting her gaze. And I'm done with being treated like I owe you my life. You have made your choice, Lila. Now it's time for me to make mine. She froze. Confusion flashed in her eyes. 2 days later, I took action. I canceled her funding. Quietly, efficiently, without fanfare. Transfers stopped. Investments rescinded. Emails sent. Agreements nullified. I did not gloat. I did not announce it. I acted with precision. Her first call was frantic, screaming, accusatory, desperate. You can't do this, she shouted. I just did, I said softly. You'll regret it. I doubt it, I replied. And I hung up. Relief washed over me like a cool breeze. For the first time in decades, I felt free from the weight of expectations I had placed upon myself to please her, to protect her, to ensure her happiness at the expense of my dignity. Later that night, I discovered a hidden email chain she had hoped I would never see. Debts, secret loans, fraudulent claims, lies. She had been planning her own financial disaster behind my back. I realized something chilling. Her anger wasn't only about control. It was about greed, envy, and fear of accountability. And I held the power now. Quietly, invisibly. The next morning, a message appeared on my phone. Mom, this isn't over. You'll regret this. I smiled, because the real battle was only beginning. The morning after the birthday disaster, the house felt strange, still, heavy, almost oppressive. I moved through the room slowly, each step measured, as if the floor itself had been waiting for the storm that had passed. My husband sat in the study, pretending to read the newspaper, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. He wasn't sure whether to speak or remain silent. Lila had not returned since the confrontation. Her absence was deafening. I poured myself a cup of tea, holding it tightly as though it could anchor me. The room smelled faintly of lavender from the diffuser I had always loved, but even that fragrance felt muted. Then I saw it, a stack of unopened letters and envelopes that had arrived while I was distracted by Lila's tirade. My hands trembled as I picked them up. Most were routine bills or personal notes, but one envelope, plain and unmarked, caught my attention. The handwriting was familiar, neat, precise. My daughter's. I hesitated. Normally, I would have set it aside, but I had learned that some letters carry more than words. They carry truth, buried like a time bomb. I opened it carefully. Inside was a printout of emails, financial statements, and handwritten notes. She had been hiding debts, loans, and even a few investments she had attempted to control without my knowledge. I felt a cold wave of realization. Her anger wasn't just resentment. It was fear, fear of accountability. She had crafted a small empire of secrets, hoping I would never notice. My husband appeared behind me, peering over my shoulder. "What is it?" he asked softly, worry etched in every line of his face. "I think we underestimated her," I said quietly. "Lila has been hiding more than her temper." He took a deep breath. Do you want me to confront her?" "No," I said. "Not yet. This isn't about confrontation. It's about understanding the depth of what we're dealing with." Later that afternoon, Lila returned. She walked into the house with the same confidence as before, but this time there was tension in her steps. I could see her scanning the living room, calculating every corner, every object. She didn't smile. She didn't greet me. She came straight to the table. "I found the letters," she said, her voice a mix of fear and defiance. "I assumed you would," I replied calmly. You went through my things," she demanded, though there was an edge of guilt in her tone. "I looked at what you left in plain sight," I said. "You didn't hide it well enough." Her hands clenched into fists. "Why are you doing this to me? I've already told you how I feel." "And I've heard you," I said. "You want freedom. You want to live without my interference. But freedom isn't destroying others to get what you want." Her eyes flashed with anger. "You think I'm destroying anyone?" I stood, facing her fully now. "Yes, you've been manipulating money, lying about debts, hiding investments. You wanted me gone so that you could have control. That's destruction, Lila." She stumbled back as if struck. Then she laughed, bitter, hollow. "You've always overestimated yourself. You think control is power. You think money is everything. You have no idea what it feels like to be trapped by expectations you didn't even ask for." "I know exactly how it feels to carry expectations," I said softly. "But I've learned something you haven't. Power is knowing when to walk away, and courage is knowing when to act quietly." Her friends, who had accompanied her, shifted uneasily. One whispered something to another, their voices hushed but charged with tension. I ignored them. My attention was fixed entirely on Lila. "You're lying," she spat. "You're just scared because I finally see through you. I finally know that nothing you give is real. You think gifts make up for control. You think money erases the past. I've learned that some gifts don't erase the past," I said. "But actions, decisions made at the right time, can change the future." Her face twisted with disbelief. You canceled everything, didn't you?" "Yes," I said, calm, steady. "Everything you relied on. Quietly, methodically, without a single word to anyone else." Her body stiffened. "You can't do that. That money, it was mine to manage. It was never about ownership," I said. "It was about responsibility. And you've proven that you cannot handle it responsibly." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back furiously. "You're cruel," she whispered. "You've humiliated me in front of everyone. I told you how I feel in you." I listened, I interrupted gently, and I acted. The silence that followed was heavy, loaded with tension. I could see every muscle in her body tense, every emotion battling for dominance. Fear, anger, resentment, shame. They all flickered across her face in rapid succession. You'll pay for this," she said finally, her voice low, dangerous. "You think this ends today? You have no idea what I'm capable of." "I know exactly what you're capable of," I said, "which is why I acted first." Her friends gasped softly. One of them stepped forward. "Lila, maybe we should just—" "Quiet," she snapped. Then she turned back to me. "You can't keep me out forever. You think this is the end, but it's not. I will find a way to get back everything you've taken." I studied her calmly. "Perhaps. But the question is, will you survive the consequences?" Her expression faltered for a moment, just long enough for me to see the fear beneath her anger. But then she masked it with rage again. "You don't scare me, Mom. I never wanted to scare you," I said. "I wanted to protect you. And now I am protecting myself." The room went silent. Even my husband's breathing seemed louder than the tension hanging in the air. Then Lila did something unexpected. She walked toward the door, pausing just before she left. "This isn't over," she said softly, almost wistfully. "And when I come back, you'll see you can't control everything." I nodded. "I know. That's why I act now. Quietly, precisely, methodically. The door closed behind her, leaving a ringing silence that filled the house. I sat down, my hands folded over my lap. My heart was pounding, but I felt a strange clarity. Lila's anger, her resentment, her threats, they were fuel. Fuel for me to act with intention, to protect myself and the family I had nurtured. Later that evening, I found another stack of letters she had hidden in her room. Debts, secret loans, unapproved transactions. She had been preparing for financial independence or disaster without my knowledge. I realized something chilling. Her anger had a strategy behind it, and her hatred was not just emotional, it was calculated. And I held the power now. Quietly, invisibly. The next morning, I received a message on my phone, a single line that made my pulse race. You haven't seen the last of me. I will make sure you regret everything. I smiled, because the real battle was just beginning. The betrayal didn't arrive loudly. It arrived dressed like family. It was my sister who called first. Nana, she said, too softly, we need to talk. That tone, the one people use when they've already decided something about you. I'm listening, I said. There was a pause, then a sigh. Lila has been telling everyone things, she said. About you. I felt the room tighten around me. What things? I asked. She says you're unstable, my sister whispered. That you're punishing her because she spoke her truth. She says you're trying to ruin her. I closed my eyes. So this was her move. She told people I wished you dead, my sister added. But she said you misunderstood. That you're exaggerating. My jaw tightened. Did she play you the voicemail? I asked. Silence. No, she admitted. Then she lied, I said calmly. My sister hesitated. She's hurting Nana. So am I replied. But only one of us threatened the other. That evening, the family gathered again. Not for a celebration, for an intervention. They didn't call it that, of course. They never do. They called it a discussion. I arrived early, sat at the head of the table, straight-backed, quiet. When they came in, I watched their faces. Avoidance, judgment, pity. My brother cleared his throat. Nana were worried. About me? I asked. About the situation, he said quickly. Lila sat across from me. Calm, controlled, practiced. She met my eyes and smiled faintly. Not warmth. Victory. I never wanted it to come to this, she said softly. But you've left me no choice. I tilted my head. You threatened me, I said. Publicly. She sighed. See, this is what I mean. You twist everything. A murmur rippled around the table. I could feel it. The shift. She had gotten to them first. I told Mom how I felt, Lila continued. I was honest, vulnerable, and she punished me. That's not what happened, I said. Oh, my brother interrupted. Then explain why you cut her off financially without warning. I didn't cut her off, I replied. I stopped enabling behavior that endangered everyone. Lila laughed softly. You hear that, she said to the room. This is how she talks. Like a judge. Like she owns us. My sister nodded slowly. Nana, you've always been controlling. The word landed like a slap. I provided, I said quietly. I supported. With conditions, Lila shot back. With expectations. With shame. My husband finally spoke. That's not fair. She turned to him sharply. You stayed silent my whole life. He looked down. That hurt more than anything she said to me. I never asked to be born into money, Lila continued. I never asked for her to hold it over my head. I leaned forward. Then why did you take it? I asked. The room stilled. She blinked. What, she said. You could have refused, I continued. You could have walked away. You didn't. You took everything. And then you resented me for it. Her face flushed. That's manipulation, she snapped. No, I replied. That's accountability. She stood abruptly. You see, she cried. She gaslights. She rewrites. She wants me silent. I could see the anger in her eyes. But beneath it, fear. Because she knew. I reached into my bag and placed my phone on the table. I didn't misunderstand, I said calmly. I recorded it. The room froze. What? My sister whispered. I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Clear. Cold. Unmistakable. The best gift would be if you just died. Silence crashed down like glass. Lila's face drained of color. She stammered. That was out of context. There is no context, I said. Where that sentence belongs. My brother rubbed his face. Jesus. She turned on him. You're all against me now? No, I said quietly. We're against cruelty. Her composure cracked. Fine, she spat. You want the truth? Yes. I said it. Because I'm tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of pretending. Waiting for what? I asked. She laughed bitterly. For you to step aside. The room inhaled sharply. I have plans, she continued. A life. And everything is stuck because you won't let go. I let go, I said. I stopped funding you. Her eyes burned. And that's why you're here, she snapped. To watch me fail. No, I said. To stop you from burning everything down. She slammed her hand on the table. You don't get to decide when I'm ready. I do, I replied. When my name is on the damage. She stared at me. You think you're the victim, she said. But you're the reason I'm like this. That one hurt. I felt it. Deep. But I didn't flinch. I gave you everything, I said. Except limits. That was my mistake. She scoffed. You think cutting me off makes you righteous? No, I said. It makes me alive. She looked around the room. You're choosing her, she demanded. No one answered. That was answer enough. Her voice dropped. You'll regret this, she said. All of you. She turned to leave, but stopped and smiled. One more thing, she said. You might want to check your accounts. My stomach tightened. What did you do? My husband asked. She didn't answer, just walked out. That night the call came. From the bank. Mrs. May, the woman said carefully, there's been unusual activity. My heart pounded. How unusual? I asked. A withdrawal request, she said. Large. Pre-authorized. I closed my eyes. She had planned this. When? I asked. Months ago, the banker replied. Under your daughter's access. Silence filled the room. She tried to take everything, my husband whispered. No, I said. She tried to escape consequences. I hung up and sat down slowly. My hands trembled. Not from fear. From clarity. Because now I knew. This wasn't rebellion. It was a coup. And I had just stopped it in time. But she wasn't finished. Not even close. Because when someone tells you they wish you dead, they're already planning life without you. And the next move would be far uglier. The morning of the confrontation, I woke with a weight in my chest I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was anticipation, the kind that comes when you know everything is about to change. I poured my tea slowly, savoring the warmth. The quiet was deceptive. Outside, birds sang. Inside, the house held its breath. I knew she would come. Lila always came when she wanted to control the narrative. She arrived exactly at 10. Sharp heels clicking against the marble floor. Her face was calm, almost practiced, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her. You wanted to see me, she said, entering the living room. Her voice was controlled, polished, dangerous. Yes, I replied. We need to speak. Alone. She raised an eyebrow. Alone? Or just without witnesses? Alone, I said. For clarity. She sat down across from me, arms folded, legs crossed. I could feel her trying to measure me, test me, predict my moves. I refused to flinch. I've been thinking, I said quietly, about everything. Everything, she asked, voice laced with sarcasm. Yes, your threats, your lies, your manipulations, and most of all the words you used. She leaned forward slightly, voice tight. You're exaggerating. I've been honest. Honest, I repeated slowly, tasting the word. Honesty is not saying someone should die. Honesty is truth without malice. You lied to me with your cruelty, and you lied to yourself. Her jaw tightened. You always twist things to fit your narrative. I leaned in. I don't twist. I remember exactly what was said. The best gift would be if I just died. Words, not feelings, not context. Words, spoken, plain, cold. She flinched. Just a fraction. Enough. You think I'm afraid, she whispered. You think I can't see through your act? Your calm? Your control? No, I said softly. I don't think that. I know it. And I know why you came here today. Her lips pressed together. Silence hung between us. You're going to try to take what's mine, she said finally. You're going to block me, punish me, destroy me. Isn't that why you called this meeting? I called it to see the truth, I said, and to make sure you understand consequences. Her eyes narrowed. Consequences? You think canceling my access to funds, stopping transfers, that's consequences. It's the first step, I said calmly. The first of many. She laughed softly, but there was no warmth. You think you have control. You always have. But this time I control the narrative. You controlled it for too long, I said. Now it's time to face reality. You are not the victim here. You never were. Her hands shook slightly. She clenched them into fists. You don't get it. I've sacrificed everything to exist in this world your way. And you don't exist because of me, I interrupted. You exist despite your choices. And you've made terrible ones. Her face twisted with anger. Terrible? You funded everything. You gave me a life. And this is how you repay me. This isn't about repayment, I said. This is about responsibility. And you've shown none. Her friends, who had been waiting outside, shifted uneasily. One of them whispered, and I caught the words, she's going too far. I ignored them. My focus was on Lila, the daughter who had once been innocent, the woman who now threatened to burn everything we had built. You're acting out of fear, I said. Fear that I'll take what's yours. Fear that you'll be exposed. Fear that you are powerless. Her eyes widened. Powerless? I am not powerless. Yes, you are, I said. Because every move you make is dictated by your anger, not your intelligence. Every plan, every threat, every lie, all of it is reaction, not action. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You always think you know everything. You're delusional. I know enough, I replied. Enough to protect myself. Enough to protect this family. Her lips trembled. You've ruined everything. You've humiliated me. You've exposed me. Yes, I said quietly. I did. Because you threatened to destroy me. Because you betrayed trust. Because you said things no daughter should ever say to a mother. And because you lied, schemed, and hid your debts. Everything you tried to hide. I know. Her shoulders sagged. For a moment, the mask fell. I could see the exhaustion beneath the anger. The shame she refused to name. You think this ends today, she whispered. No, I said. It ends when you take responsibility. You'll never forgive me, she said, almost pleading. I don't need to forgive you, I said. I need to survive. And you need to face the truth. She shook her head. I hate you. I hate what you've done to me. I hate myself for letting it happen. I know, I said softly. And that's the first step. Hating yourself is better than hating me blindly. It means you see the consequences. Her hands covered her face. I could hear her breathing, ragged, uneven. The fight drained out of her for the first time. Then she lifted her head, her eyes burning again. You think you've won. But this isn't over. You haven't seen what I'm capable of. You've underestimated me for the last time. I leaned back, calm, unshaken. I haven't underestimated you. I've calculated. I've watched. I've waited. And now I act. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. Her power over the room had cracked. For the first time, I saw her fear. Not fear of me, but fear of herself. Fear of the consequences she couldn't control. You think this is confrontation, I said. It's not. This is clarity. She shook her head slowly. You're cruel. No, I said. I'm alive. And with that, she left the room, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed like a warning. I sat there alone, my hands trembling, not with fear, but with adrenaline. The battle had begun in earnest. Later that night, I checked the bank accounts. Every transfer had been stopped. Every pre-authorized payment blocked. The money she had tried to claim unreachable. Then a new message appeared on my phone. One word. Soon. I smiled, because I was ready. I had survived her hatred before. I had survived her manipulation. And now, I would survive her betrayal. But I knew one thing. This confrontation was only the beginning. The war had started. The morning after the confrontation, the house was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I walked from room to room, listening to the creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant call of a crow outside. It wasn't just silence. It was anticipation. I could feel it in my bones. Something was coming. I sat at the dining table, my hands wrapped around my teacup. I had learned long ago that waiting is a weapon. It sharpens your mind. It tests your patience. It allows you to see who is truly loyal and who will break under pressure. The first clue came in a letter slipped under my door. I didn't need to open it to know who it was from. The handwriting was unmistakable. Lila. I hesitated for a moment. Part of me wanted to burn it immediately, to destroy the proof before I could be tempted. But another part, a darker, sharper part, wanted to see. I opened it carefully. Inside were pages of spreadsheets, bank statements, and a confession. She had tried to siphon money from multiple accounts. Investments I had never authorized, loans taken in secret, properties mortgaged without my knowledge. It was meticulous, calculated, and bold. I could feel the anger rise, but I held it in check. Anger without strategy is useless. I walked to the study and called my husband over. He glanced at the papers, his face paling with each line. She's been planning this for months, he said softly. Yes, I said. And if I hadn't acted when I did, she could have taken everything. Every asset, every investment, every account. She would have destroyed the family's security. He rubbed his face. I never imagined she could. Neither did I interrupted. But we underestimated her. That ends today. The phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mom, her voice whispered. You don't understand. You can't stop this. I understand perfectly, I said. You tried to betray me, and you failed. You'll regret this, she spat. I have allies, people who will help me take what's mine. I have evidence, I said calmly. I have proof, and I have patience. She hung up. I felt the surge of adrenaline. She thought she could intimidate me, but intimidation had never worked. Not then, not now. Later that day, my brother arrived, worried and tentative. You've seen the documents, he said cautiously. I have, I replied. You know what this means, don't you? He asked. Yes, I said. It means we confront it. We expose it. We take control before it's too late. He nodded slowly. I'll help. I don't need help with the money, I said. I need help with the family, with the narrative, with the lies that have been told to protect her image. He swallowed. She's been convincing people that she's the victim? Yes, I said. And that stops now. By evening, Lila returned. She was bold, defiant, trying to hide the fear I knew was there. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize. She didn't even attempt small talk. She came straight to the dining room. I know what you've done, she said, voice tight. I know what you've done, I replied. She froze. Her eyes darted around the room. You have proof? Yes, I said calmly. Every unauthorized transfer, every hidden loan, every false statement, every attempt to manipulate me and the family for your own gain. I have it all. Her hands trembled slightly. She clenched them into fists. You think this proves anything? It proves you were dishonest, I said. And it proves I am not blind to your schemes. She laughed bitterly. Schemes? You call this schemes? I call it survival. Survival doesn't require betrayal, I said. And it doesn't require threats against your mother. She froze. The words hit harder than any slap. She had not anticipated this. Not the calm. Not the clarity. Not the resolve. You've been manipulating everyone, I continued. Twisting narratives. Convincing the family that I am cruel, controlling, unreasonable. And all the while, you've been trying to take everything for yourself. Her lips trembled. You don't understand, you've never understood. I understand enough, I said. Enough to stop you. Enough to protect myself. Enough to ensure the family doesn't collapse because of your ambition and anger. Her friends, who had followed her, shifted uneasily. One whispered she's going to explode. I ignored them. My focus was on Lila. I could see the cracks in her mask now. The perfect storm of anger and fear. You've been planning this for months, I said. I have the emails. I have the accounts. I have proof. And I will not allow you to destroy what we've built. Her face drained of color. You can't prove anything, she said, her voice faltering. I can, I said, and I will. But I don't need to gloat. I just need you to understand the consequences of your actions. Tears filled her eyes. For a moment, the anger vanished. Only raw vulnerability remained. You've destroyed my life, she whispered. No, I said softly. You've destroyed the life you imagined for yourself. I stopped you from destroying ours. She shook her head, refusing to accept it. You'll pay for this. You think you've won, but you haven't seen what I'm capable of. I know what you're capable of, I said, and I've taken precautions. Carefully, quietly, methodically. You underestimated me, Lila. That was your first mistake. She swallowed hard. Her lips parted as if to speak, then closed again. Fear flickered in her eyes, but she quickly replaced it with defiance. You'll regret this, she said finally. All of you. I will make sure of it. Perhaps, I said, but not today, not tonight, and not without consequences. Her friends muttered nervously. One of them whispered, maybe we should leave. Quiet, Lila snapped. Then she turned and left. The door slammed behind her, leaving silence in her wake. I sat there alone, absorbing the calm. My hand shook, not with fear, but with clarity. I had survived the anger, the threats, the manipulation. I had exposed her. I had acted before she could destroy everything. And now, the true secrets had surfaced. She was not just a rebellious daughter. She was a calculating strategist, a woman who had underestimated her mother's resolve. The next day, another letter arrived. But this one was different. It wasn't from Lila. It was from an associate of hers, someone she had trusted, someone she had assumed would support her schemes. It reads simply, "We know. She knows. Stop. Now." I smiled, because for the first time, the hidden network she had built began to crumble. And I realized something chilling. The greatest betrayal is not the one you can see. It's the one that hides behind love, behind smiles, behind the illusion of loyalty. And I had uncovered it. But the question remained, how far would she go next? Because now she knew I knew. And she would stop at nothing. The morning light felt sharper than usual, cutting through the curtains like truth slicing through lies. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long since gone cold. The house was silent, but I could feel the tension lingering in the air, heavy and oppressive. It wasn't just the silence. It was the anticipation of what was coming next. Lila had retreated, but only temporarily. I could feel it. The way a storm gathers in the distance, quiet, deceptive, ready to strike. I heard my husband stirring upstairs. He'd been awake before me, checking accounts, reviewing statements, ensuring that every possible precaution had been taken. His steps were deliberate, careful, protective. "You're awake early," he said softly as he entered the kitchen. "I didn't sleep," I replied. "Too many thoughts. Too many plans." He nodded. "She hasn't made a move yet?" "Not today," I said. "But she's planning something. I can feel it." He sat down across from me. Do you think she'll try to go after the accounts again?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know she'll try to manipulate someone. She always does. It's her way of surviving, of asserting control." The phone rang. Unknown number. My heart skipped. I answered. "Mom." Lila's voice whispered, soft, almost honeyed. "I know what you've done. You've stopped me, humiliated me, exposed me. But this isn't over." "I know," I said calmly. "And I'm waiting." There was a pause. Then she laughed softly. "Waiting? You don't know what it's like. You don't know what I can do when I'm cornered." "I know enough," I said. "I know you're angry. I know you're scared. And I know you think you can outmaneuver me. But you can't. You'll see," she whispered before hanging up. The line went dead, but the tension remained, crackling in the air. Later that day, I received a series of messages, cryptic, taunting, calculated. Each one designed to provoke, to unsettle. "You can't hide forever. The family will see the truth, and it won't be in your favor. Everyone has secrets, including you." I read them calmly, analyzing each word, each pause, each implied threat. She was skilled, intelligent, dangerous, but she had underestimated one thing, me. I gathered the family that evening, not for a confrontation, not for debate, For clarity, Lila arrived late, as if her timing was part of the game. She didn't smile, didn't apologize, didn't even attempt casual greetings. She came straight to the table. "You wanted a family meeting?" she asked, voice controlled. "Yes," I said. "We need to speak." Clearly, openly, without deception. Her friends hovered near the doorway, uneasy, sensing the tension. Lila didn't notice them. She was focused on me, measuring, calculating. "You've been exposing me," she said finally. "To the family, to everyone. You've made me look small, powerless, weak." "I expose truth," I said. "Not to humiliate, but to protect. To prevent disaster. And to reveal what you've been hiding." Her lips trembled. "You think that gives you power?" "It gives me clarity," I said. "Power without truth is useless. Clarity without action is dangerous. I have both." She leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowing. "You've underestimated me. You think you can corner me, control me, destroy me?" "I know I can," I said softly, "because I have evidence. I have patience. And I have resolve." Her friends shifted nervously. One whispered, "She's going to explode." I ignored them. My focus was on Lila. Her anger, her fear, her defiance, they were all visible now. The mask had cracked. "You think this ends today?" she asked. "It doesn't. It can't. I will get what's mine no matter what you do." "Then try," I said. "I'm ready." Her fists clenched. Her eyes burned. She wanted control, wanted dominance, wanted revenge. But she had miscalculated one thing: patience, strategy. "Come. You've been manipulating us," I said. "Convincing the family that I am unreasonable, controlling, cruel. But you forgot one detail. You cannot manipulate truth. And the truth is you've been scheming, lying, hiding." Her face twisted. "You always twist reality. You gaslight me, control me, judge me." "No," I said. "I act. I respond. I protect. And now you must face consequences." Her breathing became uneven. Rage battled fear. Pride battled shame. She wanted to speak, to strike, to argue. But she was trapped by the clarity of my knowledge. "You think you're smart," I said, "but intelligence without accountability is danger. You have threatened the family, threatened me, threatened the life we've built. And now you must face the cost." Her friends muttered uneasily. Lila glanced at them, then back at me. "You think you're untouchable," she said. "But everyone has secrets. Everyone has weaknesses. And you—" "I have none you can exploit," I interrupted, "because I act with truth. And truth is stronger than fear." Her jaw tightened. Her eyes filled with tears she refused to release. She was cornered, exposed, vulnerable. "You'll regret this," she said finally, her voice low, dangerous. "All of you. I will make sure of it." "I'm ready for that," I said. "And I am prepared to respond." She left abruptly, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed like a warning. I sat alone, absorbing the calm that followed her exit. The storm had not passed. It had merely paused. Later that night, a package arrived at my door. No note, no sender, just a small box. I opened it carefully. Inside was a USB drive. I hesitated, then plugged it into my laptop. Images, documents, videos, evidence of manipulations, lies, and betrayals I hadn't yet discovered. Lila had been planning, plotting, preparing. The extent of her schemes was staggering. But so was my relief, because now I had everything. Every move she had made, every deception, every attempt to undermine the family, all recorded, all documented. I realized something chilling. The greatest battles are not fought with anger. They are fought with knowledge. And I had the knowledge. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "Prepare for action," I said. "Everything. We're exposing everything." As I hung up, my husband came into the room. "Are you ready for what comes next?" he asked. "I've been ready," I said. "But now it's time to act." The war with my daughter had escalated. The emotional turmoil, the manipulations, the betrayals, they had all come to a head. And I knew one thing for certain: there was no turning back. The house felt heavier than ever. Every creak in the floorboards sounded like a warning. Every shadow in the corners seemed to watch me. I sat in the living room, hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long cooled, my mind racing. The events of the past weeks were closing in, like a storm ready to break. I knew Lila would return. She always did. She never let a battle go unfinished. But this time, I was prepared. Every secret she had tried to hide, every manipulation she had orchestrated, every threat she had made, I had evidence. I held the cards, and now it was time to play them. My husband entered the room quietly, his expression serious. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "I have to be," I said. "It's time the truth comes out. For everyone. No more hiding, no more lies." He nodded slowly. "Then let's do it." I called the family together. Not a casual gathering. Not a discussion. A reckoning. Lila arrived late as expected. Her friends trailed behind her, uneasy, sensing the tension. She carried herself with the same practiced confidence, but I could see the cracks forming around the edges. The mask was slipping. "You wanted a family meeting?" she asked, voice sharp. "Yes," I said calmly. "We need to speak. Openly. Honestly. Without deception." She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm listening." I placed a stack of documents on the table, bank statements, emails, financial records, even recorded conversations. I watched her reaction carefully. Her lips pressed together, her eyes narrowing. "Do you see now?" I asked. "All the lies, all the manipulations, all the schemes? Every action you took to undermine me, to threaten this family, it's all here." She shook her head, disbelief flickering across her face. You can't prove this," she whispered. "I can," I said, "and I will. But I'm giving you a chance to speak the truth first. Confess, Lila. Be honest." Her friends shifted nervously. One whispered, "She's cornered." Lila's eyes flashed with anger. "Cornered? No, I'm not cornered. I'm fighting for what's mine. I've been oppressed my whole life." "Oppressed," I repeated, "by the mother who loved you, who provided for you, who protected you. That's oppression." "Yes," she shouted. "I was trapped in your shadow. I was forced to live your expectations. Every move, every choice, every breath measured against what you wanted. And I rebelled. I fought. And now you punish me for it." Her voice cracked. I could see the vulnerability beneath the anger, the shame she refused to name. "You don't understand," I said softly. "I never forced you. I guided you. I gave you tools. You misused them. And now you want to destroy me for it." She laughed bitterly. "Destroy you? No. I just wanted freedom, autonomy, respect. And you tried to achieve it through lies, threats, and financial schemes," I said. "That's not freedom. That's betrayal." Her face twisted with fury. "You think you're the victim? You think you have the right to judge me?" "I have the right to protect myself and this family," I said. "And I will. That's all." She stood abruptly, slamming her hand on the table. "You've humiliated me. You've exposed me in front of everyone." "Yes," I said calmly, "because you threatened me, because you betrayed trust, because you refused to act with honesty." She shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "You've destroyed my life." "No," I said softly. "You've revealed the life you've been hiding, and now you must face it." Her friends murmured nervously, glancing between us. Lila's eyes darted around the room, searching for support, for validation, for an escape. There was none. "You think you've won," she said finally, voice low and dangerous. "But you haven't. You don't know what I'm capable of. You don't know how far I'll go." "I know enough," I said. "I know that you cannot manipulate the truth forever. I know that actions have consequences. And I know that this family will survive, with or without your approval." Her shoulders sagged. For the first time, the mask fell completely. Vulnerability replaced defiance. Shame replaced anger. Fear replaced bravado. You're not going to forgive me," she whispered, almost pleading. "I don't need to forgive you," I said. "I need to survive. And you need to face reality." Her lips trembled. "I hated you," she said quietly. "I hated how you controlled everything. How you watched every move I made. How you judged me without mercy. And now," I asked softly. "Now," she faltered. "I'm scared. Scared that I've lost everything. That I've burned bridges I can't rebuild." I leaned forward. You've lost trust, not love. You've lost control, not respect. And you've lost your illusions. That is the beginning of growth. Her face contorted with emotion. Growth? After everything I've done. After everything you've taken from me. I haven't taken, I said gently. I've stopped destruction. I've preserved what matters. And now you have a choice. Confess. Accept responsibility. And rebuild. Tears streamed down her face. For the first time, I saw her not as the rebellious daughter, not as the schemer, not as the enemy, but as a human being. Broken, lost, afraid. She began, her voice trembling. I was angry. I was hurt. I wanted to be free. I thought I could take what I deserved without consequence. I didn't see the damage I caused. I was wrong. I watched her closely, every word, every gesture. The confession was real. The remorse was real. Yes, I said softly. It's a start. But actions speak louder than words. You must make amends. You must prove that you've changed. That you can be trusted. She nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I will, she whispered. I promise. Her friends watched in silence, astonished. The confrontation had shifted from a battle to a revelation. From a fight to a confession. From anger to accountability. My husband took my hand. You've done it, he said softly. You've faced her and she's faced herself. I nodded, but I didn't relax. There was still work to be done. Truth had been revealed, but the healing would take time. The trust would take longer, and the consequences of her actions would linger. That night, after everyone had left, I sat alone in the living room, reflecting on the day. The house was quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. It was heavy with resolution, not anticipation. I knew the battle was not over. Lila would recover, regroup, and test boundaries again. But today, the truth had prevailed. Confessions had been made. Lies had been exposed. And the foundation of our family had been strengthened. I picked up my tea, now cold and bitter, and sipped slowly. The taste reminded me that life is never sweet when confronted with betrayal. But clarity is stronger than bitterness. I knew what had to come next. The healing, the rebuilding, the vigilance. And I knew one more thing. No matter what Lila attempted in the future, I would be ready. Because now the secrets were out. The confessions had been made. And the conflict had transformed into understanding. But even as I sat there, I could feel it, another storm gathering. Not as fierce as before, but inevitable. Life had a way of testing the strongest, even the most prepared. And I would not fail, because I was Nana May, and I had survived betrayal before. The morning air felt unusually still. Even the birds seemed to be holding their breath. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the papers in front of me. The evidence, the confessions, the truth laid bare. Everything was exposed, everything accounted for, yet the tension in the house was far from gone. I knew Lila would return. She always did. But this time, it wasn't confrontation she sought. It was negotiation, reconciliation, or at least the illusion of it. My husband entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. He placed one in front of me. Are you ready? He asked softly. I have to be, I said. We can't let this linger any longer. The family needs closure and she needs boundaries. He nodded. Then let's do this carefully. Calmly. By mid-morning, the family had gathered. The tension was palpable. My siblings exchanged wary glances. Even my husband looked uneasy. But I had prepared for this. Every word, every response, every contingency was mapped out. Lila arrived, her expression unreadable. Her friends lingered near the doorway, watching, waiting. She carried herself with that same controlled confidence, but her eyes betrayed the storm within. You've called us here, she said, voice measured. Why? For clarity, I said. For honesty. And for resolution. Her lips pressed together, a faint tremor betraying her anxiety. Resolution, she repeated. Yes, I said. We can either continue down the path of betrayal and conflict, or we can face the consequences and attempt to rebuild. A murmur ran through the room. My siblings shifted, unsure. Lila's friends whispered among themselves. The air was thick with anticipation. I've made my choice, I continued. I want to rebuild. I want to restore trust. But I cannot ignore the damage you've caused. That requires acknowledgement. That requires action. She blinked, caught off guard by the calm authority in my voice. Acknowledgement, she asked. Yes, I said. You must acknowledge the lies, the manipulation, the financial schemes, and the threats. And you must take steps to make amends. Her jaw tightened. And what if I refuse? Then the consequences remain, I said firmly. No forgiveness, no reconciliation, only accountability. She paused, her eyes scanning the room. For a moment, I saw hesitation, fear, uncertainty, the weight of the truth pressing down on her. I understand, she said finally. I know I've made mistakes. I know I've hurt you, the family, and myself, and I want to make things right. I leaned forward. Actions speak louder than words. What steps are you willing to take? She swallowed, visibly struggling. I will repay the money I attempted to take. I will be transparent with all future financial matters, and I will attend counseling individually and with the family. A silence fell over the room. My siblings exchanged surprised glances. My husband exhaled, relief evident in his expression. That's a start, I said. But trust is built slowly. It is not granted because of promises alone. It is earned through consistent, honest action. Her lips trembled. I understand, she whispered. I glanced around the room. Everyone else, I said, you must also commit. To honesty, to boundaries, to support. This is not just her journey. It's ours as a family. My siblings nodded slowly. We will, my brother said. We want this to work. Her friends looked uncertain. One whispered, do you really trust her? She ignored them, focused entirely on me. I will do everything required, she said. I want this. I want to fix it. I studied her carefully. The storm had not passed completely. She still carried anger, fear, pride. But beneath it all was vulnerability. Genuine vulnerability. You will be monitored, I said. Your actions will be transparent. Any deception, any attempt to undermine the family, will have immediate consequences. I understand, she said quietly. The room exhaled collectively. The first step toward resolution had been taken. But I knew better than to think the war was over. Trust could be rebuilt, yes, but only with vigilance, patience, and careful guidance. Later that day, I called my lawyer. Prepare the agreements, I said. Document everything. Set boundaries. Make it official. He nodded. I'll have it ready by tomorrow. As I hung up, my husband approached. You're tired, he said softly. I am, I admitted. But this is necessary. The truth has been revealed. The confessions made. And now we begin the work of rebuilding. That night, as I sat alone, I reflected on the journey so far. The confrontation, the exposure, the confessions, they had all led to this moment. Resolution was possible, but fragile. And the tension in the house reminded me that Lila's next move could change everything. I prepared for the meeting the next morning, where the family would formally discuss the agreements, the repayment plan, and the steps forward. I knew Lila would test boundaries, push limits, and attempt to assert control. But I was ready. Every contingency mapped, every response rehearsed. The next day, the family gathered once again. Lila arrived punctually, her expression a mixture of determination and apprehension. We went through the agreements methodically, item by item. Financial restitution, counseling sessions, transparent communication, all clearly documented. She signed each document reluctantly, her pride clashing with the weight of accountability. But she signed. The room was tense but calm. For the first time in weeks, the family was aligned. Boundaries were set. Expectations clarified. Trust was fragile but present. After the meeting, Lila lingered. I don't know if I can fully repair the damage, she admitted softly. You don't repair it all at once, I said. You earn it daily. Through honesty, through action, through consistency. Her eyes welled with tears. I will try, she whispered. I know you will, I said. But you must understand this is not about trying. It's about doing. Every day. Without fail. She nodded, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of humility in her gaze. The storm had not passed entirely, but the first light of reconciliation was visible. That night, as I prepared for bed, I felt a mixture of relief and vigilance. The confrontation had ended. Confessions had been made. Boundaries established. But life had a way of testing even the strongest resolve. And I knew, deep down, that while this chapter of resolution was underway, the next challenge was already forming. Because family is never simple. Betrayal leaves marks. Trust must be earned. And the future, no matter how carefully planned, always holds surprises. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking of the journey ahead. The emotional turmoil was not gone. The consequences were not over. But for the first time in weeks, there was a path forward. A fragile, uncertain, but real path toward healing. I closed my eyes, preparing for whatever storm might come next. Because I was Nana May. I had survived betrayal before. And I would survive again. But I knew one truth. Reconciliation is a beginning, not an ending. And the next chapter, the final twist, the ultimate revelation, was waiting. The morning air was crisp, almost biting. I stood by the window, watching the sunlight spill over the garden, feeling a calm I hadn't felt in weeks. The house was quiet. Too quiet. My gut told me the storm was not over. I could feel it, like the subtle vibration of distant thunder. The family was scheduled to meet today for the final review of Lila's agreements, her restitution plan, and the counseling schedule. I had prepared every detail, every contingency, every possible outcome. Yet a part of me couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in my chest, the knowledge that surprises could strike when least expected. Lila arrived punctually, calm, collected, almost serene. But I could see it in her eyes, the embers of anger, the flicker of pride, the shadow of fear. She had learned, yes, but she had also adapted, and that made her more dangerous. "Good morning," she said softly. No trace of malice, yet every word was loaded with meaning. "Good morning," I replied. Calm, measured, controlled. We gathered around the dining table, the documents spread out before us. Each page represented months of manipulation, betrayal, and careful planning, but also the framework for a fragile new beginning. I spoke first. "Today is about clarity, accountability, and transparency. We are here to finalize the agreements and ensure that boundaries are respected. This is not punishment. This is restoration." Her eyes flickered to her friends, who had been hovering near the doorway. They murmured encouragement, but I could see their anxiety. Lila ignored them, focused entirely on me. "I understand," she said quietly, "and I'm ready to comply." Her words were almost believable. Almost. But I had learned to read beyond words, to see the truths hiding in gestures, in eyes, in silences. We went through the agreements line by line: financial restitution, transparent communication, counseling sessions, limits on access to accounts. Every point was deliberate, every condition enforceable. Lila listened, occasionally nodding, occasionally glancing away. "You will comply with these conditions," I said firmly. "No exceptions. No delays. Any violation will have immediate consequences." "I understand," she said softly. But there was an edge, a subtle defiance, that I could not ignore. After the formal review, the family adjourned to the living room for discussion. Lila's friends lingered outside, hesitant to intrude. The tension was palpable. "You've done well to comply so far," my husband said gently. "But remember, trust is earned, not assumed." "I know," she whispered. I will prove it." Her words were sincere enough, but I had learned that sincerity could mask intentions. Deception could hide behind even the most vulnerable expressions. Later that evening, I retreated to my study. The house was quiet, the shadows long. I needed to review the documents again to ensure every clause, every condition, every precaution was airtight. As I was organizing papers, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Mom," Lila's voice whispered. Soft, almost melodic, but there was an underlying sharpness, a hidden threat. "Yes," I said. "You think this is over," she said. "You think you've won. But you haven't. Not fully. Not yet." "I'm listening," I said calmly. "You've made me comply for now. But everyone has a breaking point, she said. Even you. I studied her words carefully. A challenge, a warning, but also an admission. She was cornered. She knew I held the cards. Everyone has a breaking point, I repeated. But that does not mean I will yield. It means I will act with precision. You think you're untouchable, she whispered. But the world is full of surprises, and the people you trust most may not be loyal. A chill ran down my spine. She was testing me, planting seeds of doubt, manipulating emotions. But I refused to flinch. I know who is loyal, I said softly, and I know who will betray me. You have underestimated me, Lila. That is your final mistake. She didn't respond. The line went dead. I exhaled slowly, steadying my nerves. She was dangerous, yes, but now she was predictable, calculated. I could anticipate her moves. That night, as I prepared for bed, I heard a noise outside. A subtle, almost imperceptible sound. Footsteps? A door creaking? I couldn't tell. I retrieved my flashlight and moved cautiously toward the source. In the backyard, shadows flickered. And there she was, Lila, standing in the moonlight, face pale, eyes intense. Mom, she said softly, I wanted to talk. Privately. I studied her carefully. Talk, I asked. Or manipulate? She flinched slightly. I want to explain. To be honest. To start fresh. Then speak, I said, keeping my voice calm, steady. And be truthful. She took a deep breath. I've been angry. I've been afraid. I've acted out of pride and fear. But I realize now. I want to rebuild. I want to trust. I want to be part of the family again. I listened, measuring every word, every pause, every inflection. Your actions have consequences, I said gently. Not just for you, but for everyone. You must understand that trust is fragile and forgiveness is earned. I do, she whispered, and I am ready to earn it. Every day, in every way. For the first time, I saw vulnerability without deception. The storm within her seemed to settle, at least momentarily. Then we start anew, I said softly, but carefully, slowly, and with eyes wide open. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I understand. The moonlight caught the edge of her face, highlighting the shadows and the strength, the fear and the determination. I realized then that she was no longer just a rebellious daughter. She was a complex, dangerous, but ultimately human being. Broken, yes, but capable of growth. I turned back toward the house. Come inside, I said. The family is waiting. It's time to show action, not just words. She followed silently, walking beside me. The path was long, but for the first time, it felt like it could be traversed. Inside, the family gathered. My siblings exchanged cautious smiles. My husband reached for my hand, squeezing gently. Lila stepped forward, her posture tentative, her eyes lowered in humility. I want to make amends, she said quietly. The room was silent, every eye on her, every breath held. I spoke softly. Words are the first step. Actions are the next. And trust is the journey we walk together. She nodded, swallowing hard. I will not fail, she whispered. The tension in the room lifted slightly. Fragile, tentative, but lifted. Later that night, as I reflected on the events, I realized something chilling. The battle had not ended. Lila's anger and ambition were still present, still potent. But now I had leverage, knowledge, strategy, and patience. I knew one thing for certain. The final confrontation had occurred. Confessions had been made, agreements signed, boundaries established, but the story was far from over. Family dynamics, old resentments, hidden ambitions, they all simmered beneath the surface. And I could feel, deep in my bones, that another challenge awaited. One that would test not just my patience, but my strength, my resolve, my very survival. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet. The storm had passed for now. But I knew without a doubt that the next chapter, one of revelation, danger, and perhaps redemption, was already forming. And when it arrived, I would be ready, because I am Nana May, and I survive, always,